Got it.
All right. Okay, so you guys have heard the awesome name for your matchup this week, right?
Oh, yeah. Oval Bowl. Oh,
I
Bowl.
mean,
Oh, Bowl.
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
I mean, it's honestly, it's the bowl that's heard around the world. That
The
thing.
Oval Bowl.
Yeah, bowl that's heard around the world. So obviously, Kevin, you are heading into this week with a tough week 1 loss.
Zero.
As you were, yeah, a little zero.
Right.
Kevin, tell me about that matchup a little bit with the Bandits. I think I thought that halfway through the matchup, I think you kind of got screwed on the 10-day period instead of it being a normally week. But tell me about that matchup. Did you think you had it? What was kind of going through your head?
Dude, after the first 3 days, I thought, man, I screwed up on my strategy. I'm on win now team. I'm going all the way to the ship. This is easy. And then reality hit hard. But yeah, if I had that just a normal 7-day week, I was feeling great. Hitters were hitting, everybody was hot. Pitching wasn't great, but it was getting by.
Yeah.
And I just got beat out by a better team. And that's what happens when you have those extended weeks. So that's why I'm glad I got just a short 7 days for Brent. Gives me a chance here.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. As you were looking at kind of the hitting, did you see the breakdown I did of your guys' total matchup? Like that, honestly, insane. I think the Bandits average, like I should have tweeted this out at some point. I'm a fantasy nerd, so I should not be doing this in my downtime, but that's what I do.
You should be. Yeah.
I think that the back half of the week, the Bandits averaged 1.95 in their finishing for the day. 1.95, and I think your first half was like 2.2. Like it was I honestly didn't think that was possible. I mean, I don't know who had the most points in week 1. I can't.
Stop that.
Never
Stop that.
Brent, you got the Kwiatkowskis in week 1. I think
The bye
weeks.
weeks.
For now. I have a hot take for that team.
That was a massive week 1 for me, just because I've got Tatis out, I've got Rodon out.
Yeah.
I know other people have injuries, but those two could possibly lead my team in the future. And so I'm like, I got to start 1-1 before Tatis comes back. And then, so that's good. I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
But it's tough for the Kwiatkowskis there. That's a lot of injuries. Now they could have navigated a little bit better with putting some guys on IR because we have IR spots. But
it's this new thing called IR.
I'll tell them to do it now. I'm not going to tell them to do it last week.
Yeah, no, that's one of the things I wrote down on my notes. I want to talk about injuries. Kevin, tough news for you heading into week 2 as Adam Duvall, literally was beating the world after that first week. He liked that green monster in Boston, and I don't know how. I think it was 75 points he had or something like that in week 1. He was the number 1 center outfielder in the league. It's just ridiculous. So for Kevin, you have Adam Duvall, Eloy Jimenez just went down. Justin Verlander obviously started the year on the IR. And I read something today about German Marquez, something that they're going to do an MRI on him. I know that I've actually been all over him this spring. He was really good. His strike percentage was up. He was throwing more strikes in general. Tell me about those injuries, Kevin, for you with Duvall. Obviously, did he even get to play a game for you?
I think he played 1 game right at the end.
Okay.
He didn't really do much, just got 0 points. But yeah, it was like a big blow thinking, all right, I got the best outfielder. That's a free agent. I'm just gonna get a spark in my hitting. And then that exact game, he breaks his wrist. It's like, how is this possible? I already had 3 guys in IR, and then I had another outfielder go out. So it's kind of getting down to I can't even get a full roster unless I make a move. So I made a move and ended up just wasting a couple mil on
The thing with me with that is all of us except for Kevin know baseball, and we're all looking like Adam Duvall leading fantasy. Kevin's like, shoot, this is no one's picking him up. Okay, sure. But we're all like Adam Duvall, why is he going off? Random.
Right. Yeah. He was the spark plug that the Red Sox needed.
I was waiting for someone to pick him up, but I didn't
No,
know he
I
was
thought
gonna.
it was a good choice. Before I get to Brent's injuries, Kevin, tell me a little bit about your draft strategy. I've been waiting to ask you this question. As you're heading in the draft now, obviously you didn't make the mistake I did. In fact, you went the other way. As you were going in with someone who had little knowledge of baseball, or at least watching baseball most recently, what was your strategy going in terms of salary cap, but also player addition?
Yeah, I basically try to get the biggest bang for my buck on projected points versus salary.
Yeah.
I probably should have been a little more aggressive in hindsight with getting some guys that I kind of backed off on. But I really want to look at this as a multi-year strategy and evaluation. And you don't want to put yourself anywhere near that cap because you don't have flexibility. Injuries happen, you can't compete. And then, I think me and Brent have kind of talked about what's 2025, 2026 look like when these salaries in the MLB are going up 11, 12%. And you're going to get real tight on that 300. So I wanted some breathing room for the next couple of years until we kind of decide as a league to do something about that cap. But that puts me in a good position, at least the next couple of years. And that's my disadvantage. I don't know baseball. I'm new to fantasy baseball. So this is a deep league to be in for never even playing seasonal. So
he's diving
I'm trying
in.
to be as conservative as I can before I screw myself too bad.
No, I feel that. I loved it. I just think I liked the uniqueness of everybody's draft strategy going in. For me, I was dead focused on getting fantasy auction value for players. So like anybody that I thought I could get, Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, DeGrom, great example, where like I knew they were expensive, but in my mind, I was like 300 million, I'll get there at some point. But I was going based on solely on auction value. So I'm like looking at these guys like, okay, the Shohei Ohtani is a good example. People are like, oh, the 1 year flyer. I'll take a 1 year flyer and Shohei Ohtani. I mean, dude, he's going to win me weeks. But then I started about halfway through. I was like, wait a minute. He gets on base, is not spending, and that makes me nervous because we're kind of the two. You and Josh we're kind of the two extremes, and with me being on the other end. So I thought it was fascinating. Hindsight's 2020. I think if I would have do it over, I would definitely give myself a lot more room. I mean, I think I was $75 million over the cap. So, little Rodon, baby. But speaking of Rodon, Brent, I want to talk to you about pitching, but also about Tatis. Your injuries currently sit at Carlos Rodon, Robbie Ray, which is a recent one that's kind of a stinger, and then Tatis. So tell me about what are you expecting? I know you talked about having the bye week 1. I think this week, I mean, if you look at the projections for this week, it's currently, as I was jumping on this call, it was 448 to 447.
And then I looked right before it. It's 446 to 446.
Wow.
I mean,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, as you can tell, my draft strategy was pitching. So I went heavy on pitching. Yeah. I made it so that if I did have injuries, one could just step in and we're good. And if I had some injuries, I have some cap space to go get a guy that's 2 or 3 million that can just step in. And the thing with pitching is, you need a guy that's dominant all year, but you can have a guy for a month that hopefully he just gets you, 12, 14 points in there, and he'll produce for you.
Right.
But then I wasn't too mad about losing Robbie Ray after the first start that he had. So goodness gracious. So
get an IL stint in and get your head right.
Right. So, I mean, I knew I was going to have injuries all year, but pitching, I think, is the one that's going to drive you to a championship. So I think given plethora of pitching, you're going to have injuries. I know that. So I'm just going to filter in and out. Yeah. And if I have an injury that I can't pull anybody up, I'm going to go get somebody.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think my thought process is that hitting will win you weeks and pitching will win you a championship. That's the way I see it. If Pete Alonso hits 3 bombs in a week, you're looking at like some real numbers. Alec Boehm put up 20 points yesterday for me. He's a 2.75 average guy. So he's like, hitting can win you weeks if you get a couple guys hot, but it's the pitching over the long term that's going to win championships. And I went with pitching, and then I had to sell my best pitcher to Kevin. So he went bargain shopping with Justin Verlander. I think I got a couple of picks or something for him. Actually, what was it? Was it Carlos Correa? That was that was Carlos
Yeah.
Correa, which has
Yeah.
been
As soon as he
he's
got
been
signed. Yeah.
and he's been horrible to begin the year. Speaking of pitching, I know you talked a little bit, Kevin, about your the background you have with understanding baseball, but Corbin Burns is a really good pitcher. Corbin Burns is a top 5 pitcher easily. I mean, he's been probably top 3, just missing a Cy Young over the last couple years. Corbin Burns has been horrible.
Yep.
I mean, like dog water, like
Yeah.
the worst. I mean, I think he's averaging -3.5 a start over, what is that, 2 or 3 starts, and -7 total points. So were you just like Corbin Burns, from all I hear, especially with, looking at the fantasy values on ESPN or whatever you were looking at, you see Corbin Burns, he's going to be top 5 pitcher, no questions asked. And now you get this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm worst in like every statistical category for pitching right now. But looking at the beginning of the season, I thought, man, projected points, I'm right up there. I think I'm going to lead in all these categories, and then it just totally flipped on me. I was telling Brent the other night, I feel like I'm 3-11 or something is my record so far for pitching staff. And when your workhorses like Burns, are not doing anything, actually giving you negative points, and you're going to start them every single time, it just sets you back. And that's kind of more like a 30 points, less than what you thought when he goes negative.
Right. I do think that you have, and you might want to remind me who's in the pin for you, but I think you have a pin, your bullpen has the, I can't remember what the projections are, but they have the higher projections than Brent does this week. I think, who's in your pin again?
Yeah, well, I've got just starting pitcher eligibility in my relief. So I got Tanner Houck and David Peterson.
I think Hawk's averaging like 14.5 or something like that over his first couple starts. And I know you added him late to try to compete with the Bandits, but I think that's one thing that you could, you guys have heard me talk about, if you've heard any of those stupid recordings, you've heard me talk about the starting pitcher reliever.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's going to be a huge thing. I don't have any of that. Now, I did do the averages, and my 3 relievers combined basically were 2 starters. So it wasn't horrible. When I look at weaknesses, you're right, Kevin. I see starting pitching for you. Brent, for you, I see middle infield, or at least some of your infield. Now, I'm not talking catcher. We'll talk catcher later for both your teams. But you see Jose Miranda. We all love Anthony Volpe. We love the story, but we don't love the production right now. Volpe's 0.8, and I think that's a long game with Volpe. We know that, and you probably didn't want to have him.
I did not. I did. I think he'd be picked. Literally, go opening day without him and bring him up.
Yeah,
and I could have been without him, but
yeah.
Whatever. If he can steal some bases and get his average up, and I think he'll find it later on. I don't think he's going to be anywhere near a good guy, but if he can just do positive numbers, I'll be fine with it.
Yeah. Talk to me about Jose Miranda. Do you think that he's a long-term guy for you?
Initially, yeah, that's what I went in thinking. Really, he was more of I got Trey Turner. Okay, I'm going after Tatis. Okay, I need someone that's cheap. Someone that's cheap, that has a good upside. And you're looking at that with, Urshela left. So now it's Miranda's turn. So he steps right in. And this is more of a test of, can he do it? Can he make it? And if not, I can cut him with $200,000.
Yep.
So it's I can go get somebody in free agency. So that was my thinking going into it. Was he's cheap, he's got upside. Let's go for it. And he's been decent. He's been okay. Yep. Nothing to. No Adam Duvall, but he's putting up.
Yeah, I think that was the interesting thing when I looked at your team, Brent, that surprised me as I was taking notes. You talk about the first base matchup in this one. Pete Alonso, obviously. Pete Alonso's a stud. And then Tristan Casas. If you look at Tristan Casas, the concerning things is I don't know if he's matchup dependent or what's happening, but he has 25 total points on the year. That's actually not horrible. 2.5 fantasy points, not horrible, but 4 DNPs already in the year.
It is.
He's a lefty. Is that right?
He's a lefty. And I don't understand if they're playing matchup. I don't know who else is, and this is a Jade question. Who else is playing first over there?
Yeah, I don't know.
I
don't
thought
know.
Trey was going to step in and be the everyday guy because Boston stinks, and let's just play the young guy that's supposed to be a star.
Right.
So
I thought the same thing.
the DMPs are hurting there because I didn't think that was going to happen. And look at my roster. I have no one else to fill in.
Yeah.
If they play that day, hero, which that could be okay because some guys are getting negative. So
yeah, like the average age, you have Olsen, so that doesn't really count. But the average age of your infield is like 22 and a half, which that can be a really good thing. But on the short side of things, that's probably going to hurt you a little bit. Miranda, Volpe, and Casas, so that's one thing I didn't expect. I didn't think about when I was coming to your team. The average age of your infield is kind of young. Now you add Adley in there, and you're talking really young.
Right.
So Kevin, talk to me a little about Will Smith. I mean, you guys have the number 1 and the number 2 catcher in the league matching up this week. So Kevin, tell me what you've seen about in Will Smith, and what did you know about him? What did you expect going into the season?
Well, I thought he was the Man in Black, but apparently he plays for the Dodgers. But I literally came into the catcher position thinking, okay, this is like tight end in football in my mind.
Yeah.
That it's really top heavy, and he was number 1 ranked, and I got him for a pretty decent value in the auction. I think everyone's just kind of waiting on catchers. So I went ahead and put a bid on him right away and got him. And I was like, I don't think you're going to carry 2 catchers. So I feel really good about that. Got a good value on him. And he's young and he's hitting pretty well to start the season. So I love it.
It's fascinating you said that, because I was just talking to Jeremy yesterday, and I said that the catcher is the tight end position. I literally said the same thing. Like that makes a lot of sense. You got 5 catchers you want, and you got about 25 catchers you don't want, and the thing about catchers is if you're playing in a matchup where you have one, if you've got 6 to 25, you got one of those, the matchup's kind of a wash and you get what you get. But if you have a top 5, which all 3 of us have top 5 catchers, Real Muto, Adley Rutschman, and obviously Smith, then it's a plus advantage every single week that you're playing these teams. I played last week with Jeremy, and he's got that new guy Moreno, and I think that JT outscored him by 15 plus points. I don't exactly look at it like this because you can't do it matchup to matchup. But when I look at the week, I'm like, okay, what matchups do I think I have? And if I had to make a tweak, I'm only going to make a tweak. I'm not making a tweak really, but if I had to make a tweak, it'll be at a position I have a disadvantage at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Brent, speaking of the catcher position, Adley Rutschman, I mean, he tailed off a little bit at the end of period 1, but this dude, Adley is looking like the guy that it wants to be the best catcher in baseball.
And that's what he was projected to be, I think. Coming with the farm system, and everyone was. I remember his first game last year. The Orioles the fans all showed out for him. It's like this is going to be, and he lit it up at the end of last year. And I was like, I have to get Adley. I know Will Smith's number 1, but I'm going after Adley. That was a major point. I'm like, get catcher out of the way. I'm good. I'm set next 12 years.
And you don't have to pay him.
I don't have to pay him right now. Another cheap guy. So now I can go after a championship now still, and I still have a top 5 catcher, most likely by the end of the year.
Yeah.
But when he started that first game, I was like, oh no, like this is going to be good. He did go off a little bit, but he'll be good. He'll be a top 3 guy.
The interesting thing about the difference between what I see in Smith and Rutschman right now is who's going to be on base in front of them. So if you look at the Orioles, the Orioles are kind of doing it right now in terms of Orioles. And I mean, the question all offseason was, were the Orioles what they were at the end of the year last year, or will they find the water line and kind of become an average once more? Speaking of Orioles, talk about Kevin's team, Austin Hayes and Cedric Mullins. Cedric Mullins went stupid in period 1, like nuts. I thought he was going to single-handle. That was one of the guys that you looked at the first half of the period. It was like, this guy's winning him the week. Mm-hmm. Like he was doing it. And so who's going to be in front of Will Smith? Well, you're going to get a lot of guys on base in front of Will Smith for the Dodgers. Like that's half of his fantasy value is that he's got guys he can move over for RBIs.
And he's Adley Rutschman, isn't he?
Yeah.
Is he back for the Dodgers? So that's huge.
That's literally, it's massive. He's got Freeman in front of him. He's got Betts in front of him. I don't know who leads it off, especially with
Well, Mookie leads it off.
okay, so it's Mookie. I don't know Freeman.
Mookie, Freeman, and then 3 is it? It's not JD, is it?
No, I don't. I think JD's a little bit later, but anyway, I don't know. But the point is, there will be guys a ton of RBI opportunities. Now you're talking about fantasy points. So if Adley can get those guys in front of him on a consistent basis, then you've got a chance for RBIs. Will Smith, they're going to be there.
Yep.
So my prediction for this period, I chose to go with the saber tooth. I just think with the pitching difference, and I kind of got gun shy on HGOB after the ending of the period. Now, what I did not take into account is that you guys, we're going to get one start, right, from each pitcher. Is that right?
What do you mean?
In this week, will we get one or will we get 2 starts? Depends if they're ace. If
It
you're their
depends.
ace
I know Garrett Cole goes
twice.
or if yet twice. So Corbin Burns for him will go twice as well. So our aces go twice. Now I don't know their matchups other than Garrett Cole's with the Guardians tonight, and then Corbin's with who are they playing tonight, Kevin? Brewers,
Diamondbacks.
Diamondbacks.
That's a
And
good
I've got
matchup.
geez, peak.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not. We saw him in the WBC. It's just oof.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It will come down to pitching, though. I do believe that.
Yeah, if you looked at the projections early on in the week, it was 186 to 187 on the pitching side, which that surprised me. The projections were a point off. I don't know what they look like now. The hitting was the discrepancy early on in the day. Today was 270 on Brent's side, 255 on Kevin's side, and I actually thought that those numbers would be flipped, where it'd be lean Kevin hitting, especially with some of the injuries with Tatis and kind of the middle infield. But I think it's going to come down to pitching. Who do you get? Do you get 2 good Burns? Do you get 1 good Burns? Do you get no good Burns? Is he trying to, you never know with a Corbin, we forget that they are ramping it up. Like some of these guys are going 5 innings on a pitch limit that we don't know, that's not been made public. So like Aaron Nola, my Phillies, like Aaron Nola is playing right now, but he's looked horrible, but he went later in the season than he's ever gone. So it'd just be interesting to see what the matchup is. This is what I want to know before we jump off from YouTube. I want your final end of the year record projections, not for your team, but for the brothers team. So Brent is going to give Kevin's win total, and Kevin is going to give Brent's win total.
And how many weeks is it?
25.
25.
Is it? Yeah, it's 25. So so somebody I know some. I think Brent. I had you at 15 and 10, so that makes sense.
So
all right,
I'll go first if that's okay.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So
this is going tweeted out right when we get off here.
I'm like, okay, I don't think he knows what he's doing. He's putting together some Excel spreadsheet over there, and his world. My friends are asking me, what is your brother doing? I'm like, I don't know, but he's good at fantasy, so he'll figure it out.
That's
he didn't
right.
have to know this. And I'm like, I think you had a projection. I don't know what your projection was at the beginning of the year, but it was like, was it low? It was maybe second to last, sixth or third to last, maybe.
I had him in front of Morris and Colt.
Okay.
So I had him at 5th, finishing 5th.
I'm going to put him at 14 and 11.
Okay.
Before the season, I would have said maybe 10 wins.
Yeah.
But after seeing week 1 and how close everyone could be, especially, I mean, let's say the Kwiatkowskis, if they had, less injuries here, they would compete with me. But everyone's close. I think so. And when Verlander comes back, I mean, you don't know what kind of get with this injury with how old he is, but I'll say 14-11.
Okay. I landed at 12 and 13 for Kevin. So it's not that far off. Kevin, what about you for Brent?
Well, I mean, considering he had a bye week 1.
Yeah.
And he's going to lose to me this week. I'm the older brother. I got to beat him on his home turf.
1-1.
He's going to start out 1-1, so that's easy. But he's got a lot of studs that aren't playing right now, either suspended or injured. Once those guys come back, I think he's just going to light it up, catch fire. I'm thinking 16-9.
Okay. Right. Very close to what I had at 15-10. So,
Yeah.
hey, we will absolutely have to do this again. Thank you guys for jumping on here.
Love
May
it.
the best
Yeah.
brother, may the best brother win in the O Bowl, O Bowl.
It'll be a
So,
fun week.
It will indeed.
4:46 right now. We'll see.
Kevin, as we sign off, are you enjoying fantasy baseball?
I love it. I'm learning so
Okay.
much.
Yeah.
I almost know half the players on my team, so I'm almost there.
I
I
take that
love it.
going to chip into MLB TV for us next year, so we can have a little through going.
Ooh, there we go.
I like the sounds of that, saving money. Okay, guys. Hey,
All right.
thank you so much for jumping on here.
Hey, thanks, Luke. Appreciate it.